There are a handful of human beings, fictional or real, who you simply don't dare doubt their ability to accomplish things they set their minds to. Rocky Balboa, Michael Jordan, Michael Myers. Tom Cruise just wrapped an unforgettable run in his Mission Impossible series with The Final Reckoning and closed the book on nearly 30 years of breathing that rare air on both fronts. In fiction as Ethan Hunt and in the real world as himself, dangling off planes and diving off motorcycles past the age of 60 years old while single-handedly keeping the blockbuster action movie spectacle alive. While his character literally saved the world and accomplished the impossible again and again and again, to the point where we're just going to have to make up a whole new word for impossible because it just doesn't hold any weight once Ethan Hunt's through with it. Well, before Tom Cruise ever rubbed that stick of gum together and killed all those fictional innocent fish, he faced a seemingly impossible task in his professional life, playing the character of Lestat in the star-studded feature film adaptation of novelist Anne Rice's all-time famous bestseller, Interview with a Vampire. We all know Tommy rocked the hell out of this role today, which we'll be discussing in this video. But at the time, almost no one even wanted him nor believed he could handle the role. At the time Cruise was announced to play Lestat opposite Brad Pitt, the actor had already made a clear name for himself with movies like Top Gun, Days of Thunder, and even A Few Good Men already in his trophy case. But this character was different from all those roles. Cruise had mastered the art of playing the handsome, cocky, and fresh-faced overcomer of odds, but perhaps people didn't realize he had that in himself as well before he kicked down the door and jumped all over their proverbial couches. That was probably a poor analogy in this case.
I know. Have you ever felt this way?
The character of Lestat was the opposite of all those roles. In Anne Rice's classic, the character was no clean-cut all-American. He was a European, aristocratic, and androgynous anti-hero, unlike the roles audiences were used to seeing Cruise in. The outrage was louder than a weird old rich lady trying to get banged in a park, but instead realizing her poodles were just turned into empty bottles of fuzzy Squeeze-Its. But it wasn't just the fans. What hurt was the fact that Anne Rice herself came out in loud objection to specifically Cruise's casting of the role. She was furious. In part because the original book and its adaptation she'd written with Neil Jordan had meant so much to her, and in part because Daniel Day-Lewis, her first choice, had turned the role down, and the studio ignored her request to hire Jeremy Irons for the part or hell even have Brad Pitt reverse roles with Tom Cruise. Forget her original dreams that Rutger Hauer would play the character. She was stuck with Cruise and there was nothing she could do about it. But not for lack of trying. Rice didn't simply make one snide comment here or there. She went on a full-fledged campaign alongside her angry fans against the casting of Cruise, and it hurt the actor on a personal level. Cruise, at the time only 31 years old, would even tell Esquire that it really hurt my feelings, to be candid about it, that you usually don't start a movie with someone not wanting you to do it, and that her venom hurt. To be honest though, aside from the general suspiciousness that Hollywood is going to desecrate any piece of literature it touches, most of the world seemed to share Rice's skepticism. It was far and wide seen as a miscast at the time. One man stood in Cruise's corner at least. David Geffen. Geffen dared to call Rice a difficult woman at best and shamed her for lacking kindness and professionalism for a project in which she was paid handsomely. There was her open desecration of the project post-Cruise's casting when she said Tom Cruise was an actor with quote-unquote no voice. Her fans, now emboldened even further, petitioned the film with haste at every opportunity. Amid Rice's angry campaign, even the president of publicity for Warner Brothers went to bat for Cruise, noting that her book sales were suddenly skyrocketing from all the fuss and calling it good old-fashioned hucksterism. Rice claimed that she didn't start this frenzy of hate, but rather felt compelled to back up her readers who lined up outside her book promotions with signs chanting "No Tom Cruise" and handing her petitions with thousands of signatures. She stoked the fires further by saying to thousands of fans that Cruise had demanded the sexuality of the script be tamed down to save face for his clean-cut image. It's unknown what truth there was to this, but it certainly didn't help. So what did Tom Cruise do? He locked in. And I don't know if you know this about Tom Cruise, but he's a pretty damn determined human being. I don't know if you've ever seen him run, but he's on my top 5 list of people I do not want to turn around and see chasing me through a dark alley. I just fall to my knees like Ginny in Forrest Gump and start praying, "Dear God, make me a bird so I could fly far, far, far away from here." Cruise dived headfirst into Rice's books. He went to museums and visited France to get more in tune with the 18th century lifestyles and history he'd been asked to portray. He dropped 12 pounds of weight, dyed his hair, and he did it all with a smile on his face. Hell, if it were humanly possible to do so, he would have willed himself to even grow a few inches taller, another complaint of Rice's that he was quote-unquote too short to play the character if nothing else. While the open-doored cynicism to his casting reached a fever pitch outside, with Hollywood rumors even claiming Cruise had secret tunnels built from his dressing room for some peculiar reason, Cruise was putting in his best effort, and in the end would prove everyone wrong the same way Ethan Hunt has done so many times on screen since. Director Neil Jordan perhaps said it best when he claimed, "Every casting choice is a leap, and if it works, it's because the actor makes it fit his own skin," exactly what Tom Cruise did. In the same skin that required he and Brad Pitt to literally hang upside down for 30 minutes at a time to drain the blood from their faces before shooting, which to be honest is fucking mind-blowing and even caused Pitt at one point to call up Geffen and ask how much it would take for him to leave the project entirely. But both actors fought through the adversity of it all, which I'm sure the nice pay helped. Cruise, though wrongfully accused of demanding script changes and even homophobia for it by some, explained how he even went as far as putting massive intent behind each and every vampire bite Lestat employed upon his victims. He learned to bite each victim in a different erotic way each time to portray the story of a unique relationship in each one of his on-screen kills. The outcome, as we know it today, was that Cruise would deliver a powerful performance in a movie stacked with him. His Lestat managed to somehow walk the line between an abominable monster with no regard for human life and someone who can make you laugh and want to spend more time with them somehow. Someone both grotesque and entrancing, who you wanted to see die, but felt bad for him every time you watched him flirt with death. He was frightening and despicable, yet you somehow kind of wanted to cheer every time he popped back on screen like a slasher from the dead, undoubtedly about to do something horrendous to someone innocent. The same way you can watch Ethan Hunt be put into an unwinnable situation and just know he's going to overcome the odds, you watched Lestat and you knew this guy was going to make an unholy mess of everything, yet walk away laughing and sure of himself. Though you can't please everyone, and some critics maintained he was miscast in respect to the famous literary character, there's no doubt he surprised the world when Interview was released in 1994. The Washington Post's Rita Kimpley said he brings a wicked wit to the ghoulish role. The New York Times said that he was flabbergastingly right for the role and brought a fiery, mature sexual magnetism. The fan hate train for his casting came to a screeching halt, and perhaps most important of all, Anne Rice, to her absolute credit, admitted that she was dead wrong in her previous criticisms. It's important to point out here that Anne Rice isn't the villain of this particular story. For one, because the story had been so personal for her, in turn leading to her impassioned early dismissal of the casting. Not only was it an extremely important story for her life's work, but it was a story near and dear to her that she went through her own Mission Impossible to have adapted in the first place. Not to mention that she wrote the book in 1975 after the tragic death of her 5-year-old daughter from leukemia. She was a person who truly believed she was right, and when she was proved to be incorrect, owned up to it wholeheartedly. Before the film's release, and despite their public tensions, David Geffen sent her a private VHS of the completed film. Upon realizing how impressed she was with Cruise's portrayal of the character, she literally bought 2 pages in Variety to praise the film and Cruise in particular. She openly rooted for the film to be a major success, and of course, it was. In an open letter, she praised Cruise, saying that the moment he appeared, Tom was Lestat for me. He has the immense physical and moral presence. He was defiant and yet never without conscience. In just one piece of a multi-paragraph letter that praised his performance entirely. She praised her favorite moments of Cruise, including his initial attack on Lewis, his angry outbursts throughout the film, and the way he portrayed the character's need to create and move forward despite the fact that deep down this character hated himself and his situation as much as the characters around him. There's no doubt that one of Cruise's best feats in his performance as Lestat was his ability to bring fun, charisma, and anarchy to a story wrought with so much pain and despair. Despite all the doubts, it's hard to watch Interview with a Vampire and imagine any other actor in that role. Despite being a character who brings forth immense dread and morally disgusting behavior, Tom Cruise cannot help but be charismatic and entertaining. So with that, we salute not only the fascinating literary character of Lestat, but the writer who created him throughout their own turmoil, and the actor who once again, and again, rose against all odds to make it pure cinema on screen, in a way perhaps only Tom Cruise can. Now, watch this dude eat popcorn.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.